Good evening, everybody. Thank you very, very much for coming. Very nice to see you all. We're missing a few people this evening. We wish Prema very all best wishes. He was in India with his mother. Don't know quite what's happening there, but it's getting close, I think. So we're sending our prayers and love. Okay, nice to see you. Hare Krishna.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. So we're very grateful that you come out on a Friday evening and come down here, and there's so many other nice, I'm sure, very interesting pastimes you could be engaging in. So you're coming down here and associating with us, but thank you very much for coming. We're very grateful. Okay, I see that we have a discussion. We have your mother here this evening. So have I got to be on my best behaviour? Okay. We were discussing a little bit outside about Buddhism as opposed to Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. This is just a quick overview of Bhakti, this process which we practice here on a Friday and actually all the time is called Bhakti Yoga. Yoga means to link or to join. It's the literal meaning of yoga, and Bhakti is devotion or love. So what this actually is in a short-term sense, 5,000 years ago, Krishna was on this planet. He was on this planet 5,000 years ago, and he performed some pastimes on this planet, and he spoke this Bhagavad Gita. 5,000. This book is 5,000 years old. This conversation was no doubt 5,000 years old. 5,000 years ago, there was this book, this conversation was happening, and in it he explains to his disciple and friend Arjuna about yoga and about life and about spiritual as opposed to material things, and what is the goal of life, why we are here, how the cosmos is manufactured, how everything carries on. There's a lot of quite deep, but also some very simple explanations about life and life on this planet and who we are and why and what we should do while we're here, which we'll talk about later. But from 5,000 years ago down to now, down to this point here in this room, there is something which is called parampara, which means a disciplic succession. So from 5,000 years ago, there is an unbroken line of gurus and disciples from Krishna, who spoke to Arjuna, and down, which can be traced back to this room, because Srila Prabhupada, our guru, is in that disciplic succession. So this is an unbroken line of knowledge that has come down 5,000 years from Krishna to here. So Prabhupada, our guru, Srila Prabhupada, who's that gentleman over there on the far side of the altar, came to the West in 1965 to teach this Krishna consciousness or this Bhakti Yoga to Westerners on the instruction of his guru, who asked him to do that. Now, since that time, of course, this has expanded all over the planet. And how it's expanded is mainly through one thing, this chanting of this mantra, this meditation, this Hare Krishna mantra. Mantra is a sound vibration. Man meaning, in Sanskrit, man is mind, and tra means to deliver. That's a literal translation of mantra. So this meditation that we do in this yoga process is mantra meditation, which is a focus on sound vibration. And the sound vibration is Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama, which these 3 words are invested with very, very, very powerful potency in this age that we live in called Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, everybody is disturbed, everybody is forgetful, mostly. We're very forgetful. Isn't that right, Sandra? You probably forgot what I was saying about a minute ago already. Yeah. Exactly. That's the nature of I'm terribly forgetful. I forget very quickly things. Of course, in previous ages, these sages in India in ancient times, they didn't forget. You know? They knew, though, that in this age, at this time, we would be forgetful. So in Kali Yuga, it was known that there had to be a very, very simple process for us to gain knowledge, experience bliss and also to understand this very deep philosophy of Bhakti Yoga and of everything else. I mean, if you think about it, this is one universe is a vast expanse, We understand from the Bhagavad Gita that there are millions of unlimited universes, actually, not just this one. So just imagine how small and insignificant we are in the greater scheme of things. To understand even a little bit of this vast manifestation is something quite special, especially for little tiny minds and tiny intelligences like us. Of course, our ego tells us that we know everything. I know this, I believe this, we're all puffed up with our own knowledge. Of course we know nothing. We're very insignificant, and we have to understand that. And if we understand that and we accept knowledge, and it's the same with learning anything. If you go to school, you learn from a teacher. If you go to university, you want to learn anything, you learn from somebody who knows the subject. Yes? That's why it's crucial in spiritual life to have a guru, to have somebody who knows about this stuff. And there is no doubt, and whether we believe it, or whether we think not that it isn't right, Srila Prabhupada is, because of his direct connection with Krishna, is an empowered acharya, a guru, a very special guru who can give us the most advanced knowledge in all of the universes. So it's a pretty special thing. So, but the process is very simple. It's very complicated, a lot of it. You can imagine all these, just one universe, just try to imagine how that's constructed, But our tiny minds can't deal with that. But we do have access to the powerhouse, Krishna, who created everything in the first place. That's another subject we can go into at another time. But just for now, just to get an overview of what we're doing. Through this mantra meditation, through this process of Krishna consciousness, we can become self-realized in this age very easily. We can experience a state of mind, consciousness, and knowledge that is amazing, actually amazing. Which I never thought that I could, I never dreamt that the effect that this would have on me, just chanting these 3 words, but it is quite incredible. So, in this Kali Yuga, this mantra has been invested with very special properties. In previous ages, it wasn't the same, because people were much more intelligent, they were much more knowledgeable, and they could understand and have this knowledge. But for us, it has to be written down, and we have to read it every week, and we have to hear it every week to try and keep, remembering it. Otherwise, we forget it, Because, as Sandra said, we forget. And we're easily distracted. My guru says we live in a world where we're bombarded by weapons of mass distraction. Yes? Everything's there to distract us from this. And yet, if we think about it, it's the most important thing. There is nothing more important. When you really meditate on the purpose of life, the purpose of who are we, what am I doing here, where am I going, what happens when I die? These things are really, so important. Not what's happening in EastEnders, But that's what people think's important, right? It's true. How ridiculous. But that's the way things are. So anyway, chanting this mantra, doing this meditation will help us to understand all this stuff, also achieve a state of bliss, also achieve a state of knowledge, and we can discuss more about that after we've done some chanting. So Srila Prabhupada introduced this process, very easy. So to have these meetings where we chant, do this meditation, hear a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, or Chaitanya Charitamrita, some of these other vast literatures that come from 5,000 years ago and beyond. Because I was reading in the Bhagavatam the other day, I was reading, I think it's Dhruva Maharaj, I was reading them stories, and I was asking somebody about when this happened, and they would say, it's about 5 billion years ago. Oh right, okay, we don't know anything, nothing. Billions of years ago, some of these pastimes in these books are just incredible, So anyway, just something to meditate on. So we do this chanting, this Hare Krishna mantra, along with some other prayers which we sing just out of respect for our gurus and teachers. It can be done in 2 ways. In a group like this, we do it, it's called Kirtan, or we can do it privately. with beads, which is called japa meditation. And, you know, for me, as I'm an initiated devotee, I make a vow to my guru to chant 16 rounds of this mantra on beads every day. Which isn't a chore, it's actually very blissful. It takes about an hour and a half, something like that, maybe, depending on how fast we do it. But it's a beautiful thing, very beautiful thing to do. So and it's the recommended process of meditation for this age, because it is simple. You can't go and sit in a corner and think of nothing. You can't do it in Kali Yuga. We don't have the ability to do that. People don't have the ability to do that. Our minds are too disturbed, too distracted. But chanting 3 words is very easy. So it's recommended. Krishna is the supreme object of meditation. Yes? So we have, that's why everything is here, for that purpose, to help us think of Krishna. I'll explain why we need to think of Krishna a little bit maybe later. Okay, so we do some mantra meditation, because we have a little bit of a program where we try and fit things into a certain time frame, and I'm waffling a bit, so I better get going, I suppose. But anyway, that's just an overview of what this process is and why we do it. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basics for now, anyway. Jaya Shri Thank you very much. Just as by way of explanation, these names that we're chanting at the end of the chanting mantras, they were Radha, Londanishvara, Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. These are Radha Gokulananda, for example, are the deities in our Bhaktivedanta Mana near Watford. That's their names. Ananda, Gokulananda, a giver of bliss to the cows, and bliss, Ananda means bliss. Krishna is, it's a name of Krishna. That is the place where George Harrison of the Beatles brought us, the Bhaktivedanta Mana, the big place there with the cow. It's a very, very big temple near Watford, our biggest sort of centre in the UK. That's the place where George bought. So them deities are the ones that are there. Radha Gokulananda, Radha Londanishvara are the deities that are in the temple in London, who we specifically serve here in Rochester, being part of the southeast, really. It's where I had our first temple I ever went to. And we began walking into the temple there, seeing Radha Londanishvara, and just knowing that I was home. It was just an overwhelming feeling that, yeah, of course, I'm home. So I love them deities very, very much. They were the first, I believe actually, they were the first deities that Prabhupada installed in the whole of the West, Radha Londanishvara. So they're very special, extremely special. Very beautiful and very powerful. I remember, I think I've told this story before, when some while ago they were refurbishing the temple. They were redoing they were putting in a new altar, and the altar that's there now was different back then. And what they'd done was they'd reduced the size of the temple to about a third of the size, and they were doing all this building work, putting a new altar in. And I was up there, and there was me and Jaya Dave and my wife at the time. I don't know if there's many others, other people there. But if you go in the temple, you'll see that the deities, Radha are there at one end of the temple, and Srila Prabhupada is at the other end. The full-size Srila Prabhupada is sitting there, as in most of our temples. Yeah. And me and Jaya were sort of like, we were a little shocked that we couldn't walk in between or dance in between the deities and Prabhupada. You could feel this energy. It was amazingly powerful energy. You couldn't stand in between them. You know. Very, very potent, very potent, very potent. Very invested, very empowered by Srila Prabhupada. Very beautiful energy, very loving energy, but you couldn't get in between. It's quite amazing. So we love them deities. Sita Rama and Lakshmana and Hanuman are incarnations of Krishna, who are also in the manner. So the names that we chant are for these deities that we serve in our bhakti process, yes? Names of Krishna and incarnations of Krishna. So, just a little explanation of what they are, if you don't know. So just a quick, on the chanting, I was reading this today. This is a book by my guru, Radhanath Swami, called The Journey Within, which is a very nice book to dip into if you are interested in bhakti yoga. It's like a handbook, exploring the path of bhakti, a contemporary guide to yoga's ancient wisdom. It is a nice book, it's a good book you can dip into, but there's a little explanation I was reading today about chanting. So just a quick, I'm going to read that quickly, it's not very long. About this, what we've been doing, so. Chanting in the Bhagavad Purana, which is an ancient Vedic scripture, it says this: O King, for great yogis who have completely renounced all material connections, for those who desire all material enjoyment, and for those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended. So this chanting is recommended. This is another book that was put down many, many thousands of years ago. And he writes this by the Guru: the most revered practice leading to an ecstatic love for the Supreme is Kirtan, which is what we've just been doing. Chanting hymns, prayers, or the holy names of God, according to the Bhakti tradition, the Supreme Being manifests himself in his names. So Krishna is, even in his name, because he's everywhere, right? He's in everything. Everything comes from that source. So if you go and you're chanting his name, you're relating directly to him. Yes, the relationship directly with Krishna. And to those who chant these names sincerely, he reveals his beauty, his sweetness, his power, and his love. As I can testify from being in the temple that day with Jaya that day. The power is like overwhelming. If you've been to the manor, if you go to Prabhupada's rooms, you can experience that. In any of our temples, I think you can experience it, right? There's just the energy is just, tangible. Right? This isn't some figment of the imagination. This is a shared experience, and everybody experiences it, right? Has everybody been to the manor today? Has anybody felt that? Yeah. 100%, right? Yeah. Even now, even when Prabhupada left the planet back in 1977, but even now his presence is very tangible, right? And we experience that. We can experience that. The sacred literatures tell us that even the most misguided persons with the most degraded habits can become world spiritual leaders if they purify their consciousness by chanting Krishna's names. So that's what we're doing. We're purifying our consciousness. We're clearing the consciousness. Then we begin to see things with clarity. Yes, we begin to understand things as they are, as they really are. Real knowledge comes from this chanting. Yes. Not only do we get peace of mind, everybody wants peace, right? But there's a lot more we experience. That's just the starting point, right? Through this chanting. The Bhakti literature proclaims the chanting of the divine names to be the prime benediction for all of humanity. We're just beginning to access these Vedic literatures, right? It's only since Prabhupada came and he translated Srimad Bhagavatam and these things, they became into common knowledge. All this stuff was a secret. Yeah? It was kept secret. This secret knowledge is being revealed through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Prabhupada. Yeah? And by this chanting, which we've been given freely now in Kali Yuga. Because as we were saying earlier, in Kali Yuga we can't practice the really intense spiritual practices they used to practice in previous ages. In this age we need something simple. I mean, more than any other spiritual process, the chanting has the power to cleanse the mind, and this is important to remember, more than any other spiritual or religious process. This chanting has the power to cleanse the mind and awaken the soul's dormant love of God. Chanting is easy. Anyone can do it. We're living in the time the Vedas call the age of Kali, the age characterized by forgetfulness of the true self, quarrelling, war, and hypocrisy. And it is said that in this troubled age, the Supreme Being invests all his potencies in the sound vibration of this holy name in order to attract our hearts. Chanting Krishna's name transcends all sectarian boundaries. Scriptures the world over have revealed many of the Supreme's names to humanity: Krishna, Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah, Narayan, Ram, Govinda. Any revealed name from a genuine spiritual tradition is invested with some grace, but chanting any or all of these names can go some way to connect us with the Supreme. I found it interesting when a prominent Catholic priest inquired from my teacher Srila Prabhupada how devout Christians could deepen their love for God. Prabhupada recommended that they sincerely chant the names of Jesus Christ and live with good character according to Jesus' teachings. Very important point, right? I'm not going to get into that too much now. But do they? No. Of course they don't. We can see that. In Sanskrit, the holy names are referred to as Nad Brahman. Brahman refers to the Supreme, and Nad literally means a stream. In this case, both a stream of sound and a stream of consciousness. The sound vibration of the holy names is transcendental, meaning that it flows first along the lower levels of consciousness, sensual, mental and intellectual, and then it floods the soul with awareness. This is why chanting is given prominence in India's spiritual traditions, and the Sanskrit texts often describe spiritual sound as the most effective way to awaken divine consciousness. Everything in the material world is made up of sound. Molecules vibrate at particular frequencies. Material sound is a subtle background of temporary matter. The higher sound of the holy names has the ability to pierce through matter and nourish the soul, which is of the same spiritual nature. Much can be said about the power of spiritual sound vibration. An analogy explains how chanting revives our original consciousness. And we have to remember that. This isn't some artificial imposition on the mind, like Srila Prabhupada used to say. It awakens our original consciousness, what we originally are. We're polluted by lifetimes of contact with material life. Yeah, that's we have to remember that. We are actually polluted and we have to clean that pollution. We're conditioned, we're brainwashed by the media, by the government, by education, etc., etc. So many things. But not just this life, but previous lives also. That builds up and builds up and builds up. This process is clearing that out. Yeah? When a raindrop falls from a cloud, it is pure and water, and you can see through it. However, when it mixes with the earth, it loses that natural transparency. When the impurities are removed through filtration, the raindrop returns to its original clear state. Chanting Krishna's names is compared to this filtering process. It purifies the consciousness, returning it to its original transparent state. So, we recommend that you do this chanting. I'm not going to charge any money for it. You can have it free. No secret mantras here. So it's free. So if we should do this, chanting whenever and as often as we can. will experience the benefit of it. No doubt, yeah? There's no doubt. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit from the Bhagavad Gita now. Before reading the Bhagavad Gita, we know sing along. Prabhupada was recommending we sing another little mantra called Radha Madhava. We don't have the kids with us tonight, so I'm going to have to do it. We might have to get the kids to do it. So, this is a nice song, just to get our minds in the right condition for hearing some transcendental knowledge. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Channavalava Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we're going to read from the Bhagavad Gita. For those of you who don't know what the Bhagavad Gita is, Bhagavad Gita is, as we discussed before, is a conversation between Krishna and his disciple and friend Arjuna 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This battle took place 5,000 or so years ago. And in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan means supreme, and Gita means song. The song of the supreme. This is the sort of translation of the title. We're going through the Bhagavad Gita from beginning to end. Instead of beginning to end, we're on chapter 2. I think verse 20. I think we got to verse 20 in chapter 2, as far as I can remember, if memory serves me. Yes. So we'll chant this, we'll do the Sanskrit, and then we'll discuss it a little bit. The purport. Na jayate mriyate. Can you repeat that? Na jayate mriyate. Vakadachin. Vakadachin. Nayam bhutva bhavita. Nayam bhutva bhavita. Vana bhuya. Vana bhuya. Ajo nityaha shashvato. Ajo nityaha shashvato. Yam purano. Yam purano. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Some my Sanskrit scholars, I'm very impressed. The translation. Now we got to, this is probably one of the most important verses in the Bhagavad Gita, one that I always remember, because it really sums up the whole philosophy, really, and the basis of the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga, of Krishna consciousness. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. This is Krishna explaining to Arjuna about the nature of the soul, because Arjuna is distressed. Arjuna is a warrior. He's a kshatriya, and he's in a battle. And for those of you who don't know, this battle is it's a battle of good and evil, basically. When there is no other way of ending this problem except through this battle. And Arjuna is disturbed because he sees on the other side that he's going to have to kill his relatives. He's going to have to kill some of his friends, who used to be his friends, and teachers and everything. He doesn't want to do it. He breaks down. He has a nervous breakdown. He says, Krishna, I can't do. Krishna is a chariot driver in this instance. Krishna said he wouldn't take part in the battle, but he'd drive Arjuna's chariot. So he's explaining to Arjuna that actually you're not going to kill anybody in reality, because nobody dies. Sorry? Everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna, that's right. And he's going to liberate everybody from this suffering condition of birth, death, old age and disease anyway. So he's explaining about, to help Arjuna understand this, he's having to explain about the real nature of who we really are, who the person is, who the living entity is. It's not the body. We are not the body. We are the soul. Yes? And the material body is temporary. We're going to die. This body is going to die at some point. Yes? We can't avoid that. There are no exceptions. We're not immortal, the body isn't immortal, we are, and Krishna is explaining in this verse that we have never been born, actually, and we're never going to die. We are eternal. Yeah? When you try and think about that and meditate on that, that's quite something to think about. It's actually a very, very beautiful thing, because all the people that we love, all of the people with relatives, friends, we've all lost people, haven't we, in our lives, and going to, and these things are going to happen. That's the nature of the material existence, yeah? So isn't it lovely to know that nobody actually dies anyway? Because everything exists eternally. We exist eternally because we're spiritual. And spiritual energy is not temporary like the material energy. So it's a very nice thing to know, and a very encouraging thing to know that we are in that situation. Certainly as I get older, I'm thinking to myself, well, thank God for that, you know. God, what am I going to do? You know? If it's I've done all this for nothing, you know. But no, you know, we're getting the information direct from the horse's mouth here now. We've got to remember, and it's very important to remember who Krishna is. You know? He can't be wrong because he's the source of everything. You know, Krishna is eternal. We are eternal. We come from Krishna. We are sparks from Krishna. Krishna is the fire. We are the spark from the fire. So we are the same as Krishna, but we're small, and he is very big. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. We all experience that. You know, there's a very basic instruction in Krishna consciousness. You know, that we are born. We're little when we're born, and we grow and we become beautiful children like yours. Who give us no grief, no problems. Very, very sweet. But then we were like that once, right? Now we're in an adult body, right? You know, but am I any different? Have I changed? My capacity to do things in the material sense may have done. And now that I'm an old man, you know, my body is changing all the time, but I'm not. So that I is always carrying on. You know, when this body dies, that I will carry on. It's as simple as that. Because we're spiritual. We don't go through any changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called steady or gutastha. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. As we were just saying, it takes birth from the womb of its mother's body. It remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, children, etc., and stuff like that. Then it gradually dwindles, and at last it vanishes into oblivion or into dust, or like Joni Mitchell sang, a billion-year-old carbon or something, wasn't it? I think that's all the body's constituent parts are. Yeah. You know, the body is made up of atoms. Yes, just like this microphone stand is made up of atoms. Yeah. But there's a difference between them. We're made of the same thing. Yes, but there's a difference between that and me. I'm conscious. I have a living. There's something in me that isn't in the microphone stand, even though we are both made up of the same material, right? So that's the soul. That's who we are. That living force is different. The soul is not born, but because it takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, no present, or future. We've always existed. He is eternal, ever existing and primeval. That is, there is no trace in history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc. of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. The so-called old man, therefore, feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. Now, I've had practical experience of this when my mother was leaving her body a couple of days before she died or body. She said that to me. She said, I don't feel any different. I can't do anything. My body's, she had cancer and she was emaciated. She said, but I don't feel any different. So, it's true, we don't. And we'll experience that as well, probably. She did say, I think I ought to become a vegetarian now. I said, it's a bit late now. I've been telling her that for the last 40 years. So, she didn't feel any different. But her body had, was emaciated. It was dying and everything. But she knew that she wasn't. When you get to that point, maybe you have a realization, understand that. We can understand it now before it happens. We can do something about it. We can do about something what's going to happen next. Because that's the important thing, We don't want to come back due to our karmic activity and something that's going to make us suffer, and we need to help others to understand that as well. That's the important thing. That's what we're trying to do by having these programs, by distributing this knowledge. We want to help others, serve others, help them to understand that. Because it's extremely important. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree or anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls. And owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Kataya Upanishad, which is another ancient scripture, we also find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate milyate va vashachin nayam kutaschin na bhavova kashchit ajo nitya sashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane shyarire. The meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita, but here in this verse there is one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. So this is an extremely important point, and this is what we experience, I think, the more we progress in Krishna consciousness. As we were saying earlier, when we start to chant these names, we begin to have realizations, right? We get realizations, and having realizations means knowing, yes? Knowledge, yeah? Which is really the opposite of what the scientists and materialists are doing by trying to examine things. They're not getting knowledge like that. That's not knowing. They're theorizing, they're speculating, they're testing, but they're not knowing. So knowledge, as we've been discussing this in book club and in various things, our mentorship group about this the other day, that this is a very important thing to understand. That knowledge can be understood in 2 ways, deductive and inductive. Deductive knowledge isn't really real knowledge. It's speculation, it's theory, it's experimentation. It may come to a conclusion, but it's not the same as this inductive knowledge, which is knowing something, yes? We all know it's wrong to kill, right? Yeah? So the soul knows that, yes? Yes? Yeah. So that's I know that. So I would never kill something, not willingly, not knowingly, right? Because I know it's wrong. I know that. Yeah? But unfortunately, people who have material consciousness, and we see it all around, don't know that. And they haven't had that realization. They don't know that, even though they may agree when you say it to them, they haven't experienced the realization of it, right? Yeah? Because they do it all the time, right? The soul is, I think, Prabhupada might explain it here, that where the soul is already knowledgeable. We're just, as we were saying earlier, by this chanting, by this process, we're uncovering what we know already. Yeah? That's all it's doing. It's cleaning off this dust, this dirt we've accumulated, as we said earlier. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if it does not find the soul within the heart, where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds, or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal or plant, actually, or anything that's living, there's something there that's different from this, right? We can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. We were discussing that earlier. We are being prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad in this way. I'll just read the English of that. Both the super soul, Paramatma, Para means supreme, Atma means soul, the supreme soul, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, that's us. We are Jiva Atma, we're Jivas, Jiva souls, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. But only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters. We'll learn all about that as we go through the Bhagavad Gita, about Krishna and how he expands and how he incarnates and how he presents himself or goes into different forms to do different things within the cosmos. That'll come later on. We won't get deeply into that at the moment. But just, we should know that Krishna does expand into a Vishnu form that is within each of us. Yeah? Within the heart. Krishna is there, and he will reveal himself if we surrender, if we turn towards him, if we follow this process. He reveals from within and from without. Within you, without you. Yes? He reveals this. So, it's a Beatles song. So that we revealed, right? From within and without. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, and it will be described in the following chapters. Yes, okay. So Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna, or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Now, that's a very important thing to understand and remember as well, because it's extremely important to have a spiritual master, a guru. But it's got to be a proper, a bona fide guru. As we discussed earlier, this knowledge, this empowerment of Srila Prabhupada has come down through a parampara from Krishna directly. We can check that. That's a system, There are millions of gurus. You look on YouTube or something, you'll find gurus everywhere, yes? Yeah? Yeah, it's very true, isn't it? I've met quite a few gurus in my time. But we have to really be very, very careful in that regard, because anybody can say they're a guru. And in fact, Prabhupada said that, actually. Krishna said that. We have to become guru. Guru means teacher. Guru means heavy with knowledge. That's the literal meaning of it. But many of them, in fact, the majority of them are rascals, right? Yeah? Yes, they are. They're just after, they're after money, or they're after something else, or just being adored or being worshipped or whatever else. A true guru has certain qualities and qualifications, and that can be checked. And you have to be very careful to make sure we check and make sure they are a bona fide guru before we accept anything, right? Very important, because we can be cheated, we can be fooled. Yes, absolutely. So very important. And that is why this process is so potent, actually. Why this Bhagavad Gita, we've discussed this before, the Bhagavad Gita that is written and translated by our Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Yeah? There are something like 300 odd translations of this book, I believe. Yeah? Not one of them was made a devotee of Krishna. Not one. None. Why is that, do you think? Any idea? Because they've interpreted it. Srila Prabhupada has written Bhagavad Gita as it is, as Krishna spoke it. There's no, what Krishna means is this. This battlefield is like this. It's an allegory for the body. I've seen some of these. No, people are making this stuff up. They're interpreting or misinterpreting Krishna's message. If we take Krishna's message as it is, through a spiritual master who is connected directly with Krishna, we'll get the truth. Yeah? And it will empower us, and it will reveal the real knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes? because it won't otherwise. So it's very important to understand that. It's a very important thing, because people will get easily fooled. There are very charismatic people, very charismatic gurus, very people who call themselves lifestyle gurus, whatever they want to call themselves, who will get disciples. We have experience of it in our own lives. I think some of us do anyway. So be very careful in that regard. But it is important that we do have a guru, a spiritual master. That is stated by Krishna later in the Bhagavad Gita. He says that. Accept a spiritual master, learn from him, offer service to him, offer homage to him. He can impart to you the knowledge because he has seen the truth. So Srila Prabhupada is revealing the truth of what Krishna says, and revealing the truth of who we are and what we are supposed to do with our lives to make it successful in this book and in his teachings. So the soul, we are eternal beings, yes? We are actually very, very close to Krishna, because Krishna is in our heart. Yeah? It's Paramatma, super soul. And he's just sitting there waiting. Yeah? As it says in here, there are two souls in everybody. He's watching and waiting for us to turn to him. Yeah? Rather than turning to the material energy, which is called Maya, which means illusion. Yeah? Because we won't find happiness there. We won't find real knowledge there. We won't find satisfaction there. Because we'll always be frustrated looking for pleasure in the material world. Yeah? Because that's what we're doing. That is another part of the nature of the soul. The soul is described in the Sanskrit literature and in the Bhagavad Gita as Sat Chit Ananda. Yeah? Sat meaning eternal, which we've already discussed, and Chit meaning full of knowledge, which we've already discussed to some degree. We already have this knowledge. It's just a case of uncovering it. And then we can realise it from within. Krishna will reveal it from within. And also Ananda, which means blissful. The soul is naturally blissful. Spiritual, there's no inebrities in the spiritual world. There's no inebrities in spiritual life. Everything is blissful. We are blissful. We are happy. Actually, the soul is naturally happy. So the more that you practice Krishna consciousness, the more you practice chanting, the more you practice eating Krishna prasadam, food offered to Krishna, the more you chant, the more you come together as with other devotees, the more you'll experience happiness, right? We were discussing it a couple of weeks ago. I've been to Krishna programs here and there and everywhere, in India, here, there, and all over the place for 40 odd years. I never see anybody go away thinking, oh, that was horrible. I didn't enjoy that. I feel rubbish. I don't feel happy. I feel miserable. Never. No, we don't. It's not true, because it uplifts you, right? Yeah, it's uplifting. It starts to reveal what we really are. We're blissful, yeah? And all that does, it's not like other people are making us happy, we're just revealing our own happiness, yeah? That's the nature of the soul. This eternal thing which we are is eternally blissful, Nanda, yeah? And this Krishna consciousness makes us understand the world, it makes us experience that. We experience the reality of that, yeah? So, the way to do that is by this very simple process of chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. And if we can, read some of this literature every day, a little bit of something. It's very important to try and keep reading. Or we have a book club on Thursdays, which is very nice. We're reading The Science of Self-Realization at the moment. Very nice book about Srila Prabhupada, from what Srila Prabhupada was talking about. That gives us a lot of basic knowledge. If some of the more esoteric and more cosmic stuff can be a bit beyond our understanding, even the simple stuff is there. And Srila Prabhupada's writings and his conversations are very direct, right? When you hear and read these things, he can say so much more in 3 words than I can say in 2 hours. And it hits you, right? Oh, of course, yeah. Amazing personality, right? And he's our guru. He's actually everyone's guru, because he is empowered to spread this supreme knowledge of bhakti, this supreme process in the West, in Kali Yuga, yes? And he's still doing it now, even though he's left the planet, yes? That's what we're doing here. really. We're just delivering Srila Prabhupada's message. And that's how the parampara works, as we were discussing earlier, down through Krishna, down through Prabhupada, down through my guru, to me. If you get into that line, then you also will transmit that same message. We mustn't, the ego goes out of the window, right, when you start practicing Krishna consciousness. This is the problem. As soon as we start theorizing on the mental platform, or start thinking, I know better, or I think this, or I believe that, that's ego. Yeah? But that doesn't happen in Bhakti Yoga. The ego goes out the window. Because we realise, one of the first realisations we have is, I don't know anything, actually. As Lord Chaitanya, the last incarnation of Krishna, said, my guru, he was the most intelligent. Of course he was Krishna. Yeah? But what did he say to the impersonistic philosophers who wanted to engage him in conversation? He said, my guru has told me I'm just a great fool and that I should just chant Hare Krishna. He didn't get involved with these philosophers in these big debates, impersonalism against personalism. No, he said, no, my guru has told me that I am a great fool and I must just chant Hare Krishna. That's how we should be. Don't try and theorize, don't think, don't speculate, don't try and, just accept the truth from the source of the truth, yeah? Because all speculation is just on the mental platform. And we have to understand the very basic thing about material life and spiritual life is that material energy, as is explained by Krishna, is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ahankara, false ego. These are material. This is the material energy. It's called prakriti in Sanskrit, the material energy. There's the gross energy, which is like earth, water, fire, air, and things which everything is made up of that. And the subtle energy, material energy, is mind, intelligence, and false ego, ahankara. And above that, transcendental to that, is the soul. So if we start speculating or theory, I think this, I'm thinking this, I don't believe this, I believe this, then we'll fail. I mean, I'm not sure if it's in the Bhagavad Gita or somewhere where Krishna says that doubts are demons, actually, of this process. Yeah, they're just demoniac, they'll disturb the process. Yeah? So we have to try and just not speculate. It's not very easy because we've been doing that probably for lifetimes and lifetimes. We habitually been doing that, so. But if we chant nicely, that will calm the mind, and then the mind is receptive then, and Krishna then comes in, and he starts to reveal. And we're at peace, because that's what we want, right? That's the first thing about meditation. We get peace of mind. Once we have peace of mind, then everything becomes revealed, and Krishna takes control, and then everything is wonderful. And everything manifests. It's really, really lovely. And we'll have happiness and peace. And love. Not just love the ones close to us, but love for everybody and everything. Because then we begin to see that everything is a soul. Then we begin to perceive that. Yeah? Then we don't kill animals and eat their flesh.
Then you begin to see Krishna in everybody.
That's absolutely, yeah. Then you begin to see Krishna, because Krishna reveals within and without. You begin to see Krishna in everything. Yeah? Because Krishna, everything is Krishna, actually, ultimately. And all the energy is everything is Krishna. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful philosophy and a very, very beautiful experience. We just have to do it. As we often say every week probably, if we give you a jar of honey, don't lick the outside of the jar because you won't taste the honey. You have to get inside and do it and taste the honey. Then you'll taste the sweetness of Krishna. Then you'll taste the sweetness of Krishna consciousness. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
I've been doing chanting for the last 3 years, every day morning. Sometimes when I'm chanting, my mind is not on Krishna. It's get deviated with a lot of things. I would not say like it's materialistic things, but simple, silly things like a kid is not getting up, she's not getting ready, you have to take her to the school. And I do the chanting. Sometimes I'll go to Madhava, Vrindavan, sometimes sometimes silly things will stop me thinking about Krishna.
Mm.
Is that the right thing to do? Like when you're chanting and your mind is not with Krishna and you're not in the consciousness of Krishna.
Well, we tend to think that we would say it's not the right thing to do, no. But unfortunately, it's the nature. It's our nature. The nature of the mind. The mind, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the mind is like the wind. It's very difficult to control. Extremely difficult to control. And certainly with all the distractions, if you have family, in grihastha life, in household life, if you have all these things going on, it's even more difficult. You know what I mean, to do that. There's no doubt, it's not easy. Nobody ever said it would be easy. The process is easy, but the things which are a problem are, as we discussed this, I think, the other night on our mentorship group, there's three things that disturb us. Yeah? Our own minds, our own internal functions, other living entities, like children, yes, and natural things, natural disturbances, like mosquitoes or storms or whatever it may be. So these things are there, but we just have to persevere. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that it is possible to overcome these things, but you have to be enthusiastic and you have to have suitable practice and make sure you just stick to the process. Now, the mind will always try to distract us. All of us. That's going to happen. When you're trying to meditate, the mind will always try and distract you. No doubt. Sorry, yeah. So.
Can I just comment on
yeah,
that?
of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like also it's a test. We're here to learn lessons as well, and I believe that also could be a test, maybe from Krishna, to see how devoted that you are.
Well, yeah, that's another aspect of it.
That's what I feel.
But it is a problem. But it's not right in the sense you see. It's not right.
I would like to pass that test.
But it will happen. It will happen. Yeah. But the perseverance is important, and just trying to remain enthusiastic, and to try and remain balanced. I mean, it's not easy. Luckily, I've gone through that stage. Sort of survived, but it's only temporary. But it will change. But make the most of it at the time. Don't we mustn't neglect the important things in our life, especially if we have children and all the rest of it. They mustn't be neglected for the sake of it. But sometimes we just have to maybe sit back and wait a little time. Be patient. It will come.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to add a further comment as well. I think it's just keep persisting, perseverance, because I think most of us, probably all of us, have times like that. I myself definitely have times like that. And even at times it may feel mechanical, which we don't want to be doing that. But at times I think you just have to, even if it feels mechanical, just keep going through it, And maybe, like for some devotees, it takes a while to get going. Like for myself, sometimes it might take me like 8 rounds until I'm fully, okay, I'm in this sort of thing. So maybe, I don't know, if you're doing like 4, for example, maybe try doing an extra round, because maybe you just need a bit more time to get into it.
Warm up.
Yeah, warm up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I've been doing it now for 45 years, but it's still the same. Every day is a new application. Every day there's a different distraction. But like we get to about 8 rounds, then you start to get into a zone that starts to transcend that. But I don't have the problem of children and distractions like that. So even for me, I find it difficult sometimes. My mind is telling me to do something else, whatever. But we shouldn't listen to our minds, because remember, we're not the mind. We're trying to control the mind. Most people think they're the mind. We're not. That's not us. It's the I that's controlling the mind that's us. But the mind, for whatever reason, is a constant badgering irritation. But when you experience that when that state when the mind is quiet, and it's just beautiful, right? So nice. You get to that sort of experience. It's really lovely.
As you say, we are smothered around with the material energy. I mean, technology, etc.
Absolutely, yeah. We're bombarded with stuff.
People just
not just on the gross level, but on subtle level. There's lots of stuff coming at us.
Absolutely covered on it.
Yeah.
They're not awake because of all this. It's like arrows, isn't it? We're being bombarded
absolutely, yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Sorry. Say it's best to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
I find that because the day just takes over after that.
Yeah, and we understand the reasons for that, because in the Bhagavad Gita also the Bhagavad Gita has information that you don't find anywhere else in any religious scriptures or any material about, and the explanation of why this happens about the gunas, these three modes of nature, is why it happens, because in the early hours of the day it is predominantly the mode of goodness, sattvic time, and as the day progresses it becomes more rajasic, things move into the mode of passion, so it's more difficult to do spiritual practice. Then by the evening we're in the mode of ignorance, which is another different sort of mode of nature, so that's how the material energy works. So it's best to do it in the mornings if you can, if possible. You can do it any time, but mornings are best. It's more conducive in the mornings. So rise a little earlier before the kids get up. So, okay, anything else? Or that's, okay, Hare Krishna, thank you very much. We're going to have Arati now, presume, if Dhanagati's... He's coming to do Arati, yeah? Good, okay.
Radha
which is prasadam. And I know there's any events going on this week. Nothing else to announce at the moment? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Don't forget we have a book club on Thursdays. You're welcome to come along and listen and read or whatever here, or just listen to that. That's on Zoom on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. And if not, we'll see you next Friday, hopefully. Yeah? So we'll just do the prasadam prayers and then we'll serve prasadam. Namaha prasade govinde. Namaha prasade govinde. Namaha brahmani vaishnave. Namaha brahmani vaishnave. Punya dhammajan. Punya dhammajan. Vishvaso naiva jayate. Vishvaso naiva jayate. Sarvani vijaya. Sarvani vijaya. Jvindriya taika. Jvindriya taika. Vele vishaya shagare. Vele vishaya shagare. Dharvaji vayati. Dharvaji vayati. Lokman sudamati. Lokman sudamati. Ekita katina samsare. Krishna Bora Doimai. Krishna